His collection is valued at over $31 million by 2025 estimates, representing approximately 25% of his total net worth. He is a part owner of Hodinkee. He has collaborated with Audemars Piguet on a limited Royal Oak perpetual calendar as their appointed creative conduit. He has designed a G-Shock with Hodinkee that sold out in minutes. He sat for a Talking Watches episode with Ed Sheeran that ran over 2 hours. What makes Mayer genuinely loved by the watch community is not the collection. It is that every piece of his knowledge is freely shared, publicly documented, and demonstrably real. Real car people cannot hide their knowledge, as the Top Gear producers used to say. Real watch people cannot hide it either. Mayer has been trying to give it away for years, and the community keeps finding more of it. John Mayer shares his knowledge. Our next collector shares his watches in a rather different way. Ladies and gentlemen, Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather Jr. retired from professional boxing in 2017 with a record of 50 wins and 0 losses. He is, by the objective measurement of his sport, one of the greatest practitioners who ever lived. He is also a man who, when going on vacation, takes 41 watches with him. 41. For a holiday. He announced this on Instagram. He wanted you to know. The flagship piece of Mayweather's collection is the Jacob & Comer Billionaire Diamond Tourbillon, which he purchased for $18 million. $18 million. For a single watch. The watch contains 239 emerald-cut baguette diamonds. You do not read it. You do not set an alarm on it. You do not use it to catch a flight. You buy it for $18 million, and you tell everyone you bought it for $18 million, which is the entire point of buying it for $18 million. The Watch You Seek community, which is not known for its warmth toward this aesthetic, described his collection as having bad taste in watches, noting that several pieces read more as jewelry than horology. To be clear, they are not wrong. To also be clear, Floyd Mayweather does not care, which is either the most admirable or the most exhausting quality a person can have, depending on how you feel about it. The watch community's honest position is this: he has the money, he has the pieces, and he has absolutely no interest in the conversation the community wants to have about them. He bought an $18 million watch so that you would talk about the fact that he bought an $18 million watch. It worked. We are talking about it. While Mayweather buys watches so everyone knows the price, our next collector has spent decades making sure nobody knows anything about him that he has not decided to share. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay-Z, Sean Corey Carter has a net worth of somewhere between $2 and $2.5 billion, making him one of the wealthiest musicians in history. He built that wealth through hip-hop, through business, through art collecting, through investments that most people in music never thought to make. He also built a watch collection that the community talks about in almost reverential terms, not because of the price tags, which are extraordinary, but because of the taste, which is something that cannot be bought at any price. Jay-Z has been spotted in vintage Rolexes from the 1960s and 1970s that most dealers struggle to source. He has worn Patek Philippe references that signal deep collector knowledge rather than retail relationships. He has appeared in Richard Mille pieces that suggest he understands the engineering rather than just the price. What distinguishes his relationship with watches from the others on the hated side of this list is restraint. Jay-Z does not explain his watches. He does not give them nicknames. He does not appear on chat shows with briefcases. He wears them, and the watch community notices what he is wearing, and the watch community approves, and he does not appear to be aware that the watch community exists. There is something specifically impressive about earning the respect of an extremely demanding audience that you have no interest in performing for. Real collectors know exactly what is on his wrist in every photograph. Jay-Z is not thinking about them at all. That combination is almost impossible to manufacture. And yet here we are. Jay-Z lets the watches speak for themselves. Our next collector would like to speak for the watches, about the watches, and also have the watches speak for him simultaneously. Ladies and gentlemen, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is one of the greatest mixed martial artists of his generation, a man who fought his way from welfare in Dublin to a net worth estimated at $200 million, and who has been very specifically and loudly aware of every step of that journey. He received his first luxury watch as a gift from the UFC's Lorenzo Fertitta in 2013 after signing a major fight deal, a solid gold Rolex Sky Dweller. He has been photographing himself with watches on Instagram ever since, with the energy of someone discovering watches for the first time on a daily basis. His collection includes a Jacob and Comer Astronomia Casino, worth $620,000, featuring a miniature roulette wheel that spins at the push of a button. He has worn this to Dubai. He has photographed it in Dubai. He has posted it from Dubai. McGregor's entire relationship with watches can be summarized as expensive object acquired, photograph taken, caption written, post submitted. When he saw a post about Anand Ambani's watch collection, his public response was, "This guy has some watch collection." 6 words, about watches worth $9 million, from a man whose own collection is worth several $1,000,000. The watch community's honest reaction was that this is the equivalent of someone at the Louvre standing in front of the Mona Lisa and saying, "Nice painting." He is not wrong. He is just not saying anything. And in a community built entirely around saying something precise and meaningful about exactly what you are looking at, saying nothing is almost worse than saying something incorrect. Now, McGregor collects for Instagram. Our next collector collected for years before Instagram even knew he collected. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran is one of the most successful musicians in history. Albums that have broken streaming records, world tours that have broken attendance records, a net worth that has made him one of the wealthiest musicians in Britain. And for years, quietly, without telling anyone, he had also been building a watch collection that the watch community had absolutely no idea about. In mid-2023, eagle-eyed fans and watch spotters noticed him wearing a mysterious yellow G-Shock during his US tour. Not a Richard Mille, not a Patek Philippe, a G-Shock. Yellow. The speculation immediately began. Was it a custom piece? An unreleased limited edition? A collaboration nobody had been told about? It turned out to be a collaboration nobody had been told about, specifically a G-Shock he was designing with John Mayer and Hodinkee, inspired by his Subtract album. In October 2023, John Mayer sat down with Ed Sheeran for a Talking Watches episode on Hodinkee that ran for more than 2 hours. Not a promotional appearance, not a brand deal cameo. 2 hours of Ed Sheeran talking about individual watches in his collection, what each one means to him, why he bought it, what it represents in the context of his life at the time he acquired it. The watch community, which is extremely suspicious of celebrity collectors who cannot name references or discuss specifics, watched 2 hours of Ed Sheeran, naming references and discussing specifics. John Mayer, who is the community's most trusted celebrity validator, described him as a fellow musician and watch collector, saying they have bonded over their love of things that take time. When John Mayer validates your watch credentials, you do not need anyone else to. The ginger kid from Suffolk, who spent his first few years of fame sleeping on friends' sofas, had been quietly building a serious watch collection while everyone was watching the sales charts. Nobody saw it coming. That is exactly what makes it so good. Ed Sheeran kept his collection quiet for years. Our final collector kept his collection loud and then had to explain, in court, why some of it was not real. Ladies and gentlemen, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Daniel Hernandez, known professionally as Tekashi 6ix9ine, built his music career on a combination of rainbow hair, genuine rap ability, gang affiliations that ended in a federal racketeering charge, and a decision to cooperate with prosecutors that resulted in a reduced sentence and a permanent reputation for snitching in an industry where that is the only unforgivable sin. He was released from prison in 2020 and immediately resumed doing the thing he does best, which is filming himself with expensive-looking objects and posting the footage online. In early 2022, Tekashi posted a video on Instagram showing himself sitting on the back of a car, counting what appeared to be $2 million in cash, surrounded by an impressive array of luxury watches. The watch community examined the footage with the attention to detail it applies to all celebrity wrist appearances. The findings were not favorable. Several pieces raised questions. The cash, he later admitted in a sworn court declaration, was prop money. Not real. Fake. The same court declaration in which he described himself as struggling to make ends meet while simultaneously posting videos of himself with what appeared to be millions of dollars in cash and luxury watches. The legal proceedings around a robbery lawsuit had revealed that he owed restitution he could not pay. The man who had spent 2 years posting wealth content was telling a court he did not have the money to meet his legal obligations. The watches may have been real. Some of the watches may not have been real. His ex-partner Yalen was exposed by the fake watch buster account for wearing a Richard Mille that was identified as a replica, a watch that Tekashi had publicly given her as a gift in a music video. When Tekashi responded to this information on social media, he did so with an emoji of a man covering his face with his hand. That emoji was the most honest thing he has ever posted about his watch collection. In the end, every collector on this list shows us that the watch community is not watching the price tag. It is watching everything else. Whether you own one of 7 Grandmaster chimes or a yellow G-Shock you wore on tour for 3 months before telling anyone why, the community always figures out what you actually are. The watches are just where it starts looking. Click the video on screen now to see the most loved versus most hated watch brands from every era.